alone. Beginning with the early Joseon world map, 혼일강리 역대국도 지도. It builds upon the tradition of earlier scholars, such as 정상기 and 신경준, culminating in this monumental masterpiece. Perhaps Joseon sought to reflect its care for the lives of its people within this map. Across rugged mountain ranges and winding rivers, countless roads were carved into woodblocks. Along the grand paths traced by the 대동여지도, we now take a new step forward into history.
drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% cent rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. President Lee Jae-myung has wrapped up his trip to the United States and South America. While in the U.S., he pledged to strengthen South Korea's role in the global AI supply chain. And in South America, he focused on deepening partnerships on critical minerals.
South Korea is under an extreme heat wave with temperatures in the southeastern city of Yangsan climbing to an unprecedented 42.5 degrees Celsius over the weekend. Authorities are urging residents to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activities amid rising concerns over heat-related illnesses and deaths. U.S. President Donald Trump has said talks with Iran will begin on Monday. This comes after he called off planned strikes against Iran, following reports that the U.S. and Israel have been planning a new wave of intensified attacks. President Lee Jae-myung has concluded his 11-day trip to the Americas. In the United States, he announced the San Francisco AI Declaration to bolster cooperation on related supply chains. And in South America, he sought expanding partnership on critical minerals. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jang-min takes a closer look.
Kicking off his overseas trip in San Francisco, President Lee Jae-myung has announced the San Francisco AI Declaration, pledging to make South Korea an irreplaceable pillar of the global AI supply chain.
세계 최고 수준의 메모리 반도체 경쟁력과 생산 역량을 토대로 신뢰할 수 있는 AI 반도체 생산 기지이자 공급망 파트너가 될 것입니다.
The event was attended by big tech leaders, including NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, OpenAI's Sam Altman, Samsung's Lee Jae-yong, and SK's Choi Tae-won. Samsung and SK Hynix have announced AI cooperation plans with the global tech giants worth $950 billion, highlighting their partnership. The sentiment was extended into a dinner meeting.
우리는 최고다!
President Lee has also met 6 top venture capital firms in Silicon Valley, including Andreessen Horowitz, for broader South Korea-U.S. partnership in technology and startups. After wrapping up a series of major corporate events in the U.S., President Lee took a trip to key economic powers in South America for one-on-ones with his counterparts from Brazil, Chile, and Argentina.
With Brazil, we have signed a joint statement on critical and strategic minerals, including rare earths, for cooperation across the entire value chain. We also have signed MOUs with Chile, which owns the world's largest copper and lithium reserves, and Argentina, the world's 4th largest lithium reserves.
Following the Korea-Brazil summit, Lee and Lula have agreed to resume talks within the year to discuss the Korea-Mercosur trade agreement. Over in Santiago, the leaders of South Korea and Chile have agreed to resume their bilateral free trade commission to modernize the trade agreements after the ECOST summit. President Lee has also met with Argentine President Javier Milei. As a result of the talks, South Korea will begin introducing crude oil from Argentina next year as part of an effort to diversify energy supplies and reached an agreement to avoid double taxation.
Following a flurry of diplomacy in recent weeks involving the EU, G7, and NATO, President Lee's trip to the Americas centered on AI, trade, and supply chains in the face of a fast-changing global order. Yoon Jang-min, Arirang News, Buenos Aires.
In wrapping up his 5-nation trip tour, President Lee Jae-myung stopped over in Germany on Sunday and met with members of the Korean community in Frankfurt. He noted that this year marks the 60th anniversary of the dispatch of Korean nurses to Germany, who traveled there to help ease unemployment at home and earn much-needed foreign currency for Korea's economic development. The president praised the nurses for their hard work and sacrifice. President Lee is scheduled to return to Korea on Monday and head straight to the Blue House for a closed-door meeting on domestic issues, including the housing and stock markets. South Korea's record-breaking heat wave is intensifying, with all of Seoul now under the highest level of heat alert. The extreme temperatures have already set a new all-time national record and continue to raise concerns over heat-related illnesses and deaths. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The entire capital region is now under a heat wave warning as South Korea continues to endure one of its most intense summers on record. On Sunday, the Korea Meteorological Administration upgraded the heat wave advisory for northwestern Seoul to a heat wave warning, placing every district of the capital under the highest level of heat alert. A heat wave warning is issued when daytime highs of at least 35 degrees Celsius are expected to continue for 2 days or more, or when extreme heat is likely to cause widespread impact. The dangerous conditions extended well beyond Seoul. In the southeastern city of Yangsan, temperatures climbed to an unprecedented 42.5 degrees Celsius on Sunday. According to the KMA, the mercury first reached 42 degrees at 1:16 p.m. before peaking at 42.5 degrees just 10 minutes later. The reading is the highest temperature ever recorded on the Korean peninsula since modern weather observations began in 1904, based on data from the agency's 97 long-term observation stations.
I think this is the hottest summer I've ever experienced. Even after taking a shower, I start sweating again almost immediately. I've never seen temperatures reach 42 degrees before.
It also marked the fifth consecutive day that temperatures in Yangsan have exceeded the 40-degree mark. Health officials are growing increasingly concerned as the prolonged heat takes its toll. Government data shows that 1,781 people suffered heat-related illnesses between May 15th and July 31st, while 13 people died from heat-related causes during the same period. Authorities are urging residents to stay hydrated, avoid prolonged outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day, and pay close attention to vulnerable groups, including the elderly, young children, and those with underlying health conditions. Forecasters say there is little immediate relief in sight, with the dangerous heat expected to persist into the coming days. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump says talks with Iran will begin on Monday after putting a planned strike on hold. While Trump says the outlines of a deal are already in place, Tehran insists no such agreement exists. Our Kim Jun-ho reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump says negotiations with Iran will resume on Monday afternoon. Speaking aboard Air Force One on Sunday, Trump said the two sides would engage in the form of a negotiation.
Well, now what we're doing is we're talking to them in the form of a negotiation. It begins tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see if it's on.
The president added that a deal on the Strait of Hormuz would come first, followed by Iran's denuclearization. In a Truth Social post on Saturday, he said progress in negotiations had prompted him to hold back the strike. Trump said Iran, as well as allies including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar had asked him to hold off on any attack after the perimeters of a deal had been agreed. According to Trump, the proposed deal would require the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and an end to Iran's nuclear threat. Reports over the weekend suggested the U.S. and Israel were weighing strikes on Iran's energy targets. But Saudi Arabia may also have played a role in preventing the strikes, with the nation's state news agency saying Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman urged Trump to de-escalate the conflict during a phone call on Saturday. Trump later confirmed the conversation, telling reporters on Sunday that the Crown Prince would much prefer a deal as opposed to an attack. Yet Iran denied Trump's claim that Tehran had asked Washington to refrain from launching new strikes. State media dismissed the allegation as nothing but a new lie, insisting Iran's position on the Strait of Hormuz remains unchanged. It also said the country's armed forces were on high alert and ready for any eventuality. Meanwhile, Iran's official news agency IRNA, citing Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, reported on Sunday that negotiations with Oman over the Strait of Hormuz were in their final stages. Kim Jun-ho, Arirang News.
The South Korean stock market has been on a roller coaster in recent weeks, with investor sentiment swinging sharply despite record earnings from the country's two biggest chip makers, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. For more on this, we're joined today by Professor Oh Jun-seok, Dean at the College of Economic and Business at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor Oh, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So Samsung Electronics extended its record run with second quarter operating profit topping analyst expectations. How significant is this?
Might be highly significant as the company performed more operating profit in a single quarter than it did in 2024 and 2025 combined together. This historic quarter illustrates its wider market impact on AI supercycle, completely solidifying its dominance in the global AI chip supply chain. Samsung took a giant technological lead by becoming the first in the industry to mass produce and make a shipment of advanced HBM4 and HBM4E chip samples. A massive global investment in data center and autonomous agentic AI caused the server chip demand to far outlive production capacity. It is expected Samsung will continue its record-breaking performance in the second half of this year. Samsung's second quarter result, though demonstrated robust demand in the market, but they also send a warning signal of structural vulnerability in its chip business and cyclical slowdown in consumer electronics area. In addition, the advent of edge computing decentralized data processing by bringing computation and storage closer to the source. Multi-billion-dollar data center expansions are bottlenecked by local power generation limitations. Geopolitical tension has been constant as well. The non-memory, for example, system LSI and foundry sectors suffered heavily from U.S. export restrictions on advanced AI chips to China. This caused unexpected inventory write-offs and then compliance cost that squeezes profit margin afterwards.
Right, and investors are now questioning how long Samsung's record high margins can be sustained. So how do you think this momentum will continue?
Worries has emerged like a working shadow in the dark. As you pointed correctly, investors are questioning how long this can last, given the cyclical nature of the chip industry, rising capital expenditure, and intensifying global competition. During the super cycle, margin remains strong in the near term, but one of volatility beyond 2027. Even though the 52.2% profit margin is technically near its cyclical ceiling, and Samsung's peak momentum will highly likely continue. Through the second half of 2026 and into 2027, Samsung management, they themselves explicitly confirm that global memory shortage will not only persist but become even severer heading into 2027. It is true, this cycle is fundamentally lengthened by multi-billion-dollar AI infrastructure deployment. However, physical and financial limits will inevitably bring it to a close afterward. A wider consolidation or slight tapering of this extreme margin is inevitable as the market stabilizes. A catastrophic collapse would be highly unlikely even in the future. At the moment, despite investor anxiety, major tech infrastructure spenders like Meta and Alphabet continue to scale up their AI capital expenditure. In this way, the structural AI-driven semiconductor supercycle will experience cyclical pause between late 2027 and mid-2028.
Right, and SK Hynix also reported a surge in second quarter profit. What's your take on the results and how is the market reacting?
SK Hynix posted the operating profit over $41.6 billion, representing a massive 557% explosion year on year. SK Hynix delivered an extraordinary record-breaking second quarter performance, yet the market reaction has been highly volatile. The unexpected regulatory heart attack and the subsequent aggressive market fluctuations showcase the dynamic at play. As for the market reaction, total revenue surged 257% year on year. However, even this big figure missed the high-end customers' expectation of the market over 280%. And the minor shortfall stems from minor logistical delay in HBM4 shipment, pushing recognized revenue into the second half of this year. Let's take a moment for a comparison. While Samsung remains a massively diversified conglomerate managing a mobile device ecosystem alongside its chip businesses, SK Hynix is acting as a streamlined pure play, integrated only on AI infrastructure. Thus, market counts in is 76% of profit margin outpaced Samsung's consolidated corporate matrix, keeping SK hynix firmly entrenched alongside NVIDIA, a prime beneficiary of the AI memory market. Either focused strategy versus diversification strategy, nobody knows which will the market winner eventually. At the moment, SK hynix has finalized long-term agreement with approximately 10 key global hyperscale customers. This structural shift contribute volume stability of SK hynix and helps to smooth out the volatility semiconductor cycle afterward.
Right, and the Korean government has introduced additional curbs on single stock leveraged ETFs following sharp swings in the local stock market. Are these measures proving effective?
Single stock leveraged ETFs are highly specialized and very volatile financial instrument, which is fit for the short-term tactical trader, but might be very dangerous delicate for long-term investors. Holding this fund for a week or a month almost guarantees underperformance relative to the target leverage. Through the introduction, it could help the market increase the trade volume and the number of diverse participants, not only the real traders, but also speculators or intraday traders. They could participate in the trade. Unlike index-based ETF, single stock can drop more than 20% in a day on a bad news, causing catastrophic and irreversible losses in the ETF. This is why I did not agree on the introduction of single stock leverage ETF, and this is why Korean government hurriedly curbed on single stock leverage ETF, such as raising cash deposit to 30 million won and capping holdings at 20% of an individual portfolio, which will be valued as temporary measures. Capital market reflected this change that it have sharply slashed the trade volume, though there are debates their long-term effectiveness in addressing broader market stability. Raising the mandatory minimum cash deposit to 30 million won successfully discourages small-scale retail participation and speculative strategies. The 20% individual holding limit effectively covered the extreme concentration of retail assets tied to volatility tech giants such as Samsung Electronics and SK hynix. Overall measures were effective temporarily. Again, daily turnover and speculative activity in single stock leverage product plummeted by roughly 75% immediately following the enforcement of this kind of strict new requirement. What is to be remembered now is that sharp market swings are driven by macroeconomics and political headwind, the technical adjustment to market dynamics, and by short covering measures like single stock ETF structures.
I see. All right, Professor, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
In K-pop news, BTS kicked off its North America tour at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey over the weekend, with over 80,000 fans gathering to get a glimpse of their favorite group. The two-concert stay in New Jersey kicked off on Saturday to a sold-out crowd and marked the group's return to the venue since their halftime performance at the World Cup final last month. The sold-out crowd also saw fans in support of BTS' recent boycott over the Grammys, after all 7 members announced they would not submit their music to the 69th Grammy Awards following the creation of a separate Best Asian Pop Music Performance category. The Arirang World Tour began in April and will span 34 cities around the world. K-pop is becoming more than something fans simply watch and enjoy. These days, so-called idol experience studios are gaining popularity among foreign tourists. Visitors can try K-pop style makeup, hair and outfits, and pose for professional photos all in one place. Our Park Chae-ryung reports.
With polished makeup, a stage outfit, and idol-style poses, she looks ready for a K-pop performance. But this is not a K-pop idol. It's a visitor from the United States. Her transformation begins with professional hair and makeup, creating a polished, camera-ready look.
Western makeup usually is a lot more dramatic, especially with the eyes and the lips. Korean makeup I feel is more natural, so it kind of brings out the inner beauty more so.
The studio offers K-pop inspired concepts. The outfits were designed in-house, drawing inspiration from the visual styles of groups including aespa, Hearts to Hearts, and New Jeans. Around 100 people sign up for the experience each month, and around 20 or 30 of them are foreign visitors.
Many foreign tourists discover our studio through social media. They have a great time trying on different outfits and really enjoy the experience.
After completing her hair and makeup, she changes into a stage outfit and steps in front of the camera. With guidance from the photographer, she tries out a series of idol-style poses.
It feels almost like a dream. I've always wanted to look a certain way, but I've always lacked the makeup skills for it. So when I get to see myself like this, it feels like a fairy tale almost.
After the shoot, she selects her favorite images, which are professionally retouched and printed. The finished photos become a personalized souvenir of her K-pop transformation. Today, for a few hours, this visitor was no longer just a K-pop fan. She was a K-pop star. Experiences like this are creating new ways for international fans to engage with K-pop. But experts say turning them into established tourism products will require more than just their current popularity.
To help idol experiences become lasting tourism products, the government and major agencies should work together on stabilizing prices and easier access for foreign visitors.
K-pop fans no longer have to settle for just watching their idols from afar. With the right makeup, hair, and stage, they can step into the spotlight themselves. 박채령, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Spanish officials say at least 72 people died in last week's mass crossing into Ceuta, Spain's enclave on the Moroccan coast. This comes as 5 more bodies washed ashore on Sunday. More than 50,000 people rushed the border by land and sea beginning Thursday last week. Some drowned. Others were crushed trying to climb a breakwater and a border fence. Morocco's Interior Ministry puts its own toll at 11 and says it is still verifying reports from the Spanish side. Since then, nearly all of those who crossed the border have gone back to Morocco. Following the incident, 22 European member governments signed a letter demanding coordinated action on external borders. Italy suspended passport-free travel with Spain for 1 month. OPEC and other oil-producing nations on Sunday announced they will pump more oil starting next month. OPEC Plus will allow a total increase in production of roughly 190,000 barrels per day. This latest step finishes unwinding a cut of 1.65 million barrels that the group first agreed to back in 2023. In practice, this year's increases have barely reached the market. Wars involving Iran and Ukraine have disrupted exports out of the Gulf, Russia, and Kazakhstan. The 7 core members are to meet again September 6th. In Greece, 2 firefighting helicopters collided in mid-air west of Athens on Sunday, causing 1 helicopter to crash. The helicopter's Danish pilot and a Greek fire service officer were killed. The other aircraft made an emergency landing. The fire they were fighting has destroyed more than 100 homes. Investigators believe sparks from a private power line serving wind turbines started the fire. 2 people have been arrested on suspicion of negligence. In the United States, wildfires have torn through more than 250,000 acres of Washington state, forcing evacuations and cutting power to 60,000 people. The governor declared a statewide emergency on Saturday. About 4,000 personnel are fighting more than a dozen fires throughout the state. In Spokane, a city of 230,000, one blaze threatens 4,000 buildings. A veterans hospital and several water treatment plants have been evacuated.
The center of this summer's extreme heat is shifting. After Yangsan and Gyeongsang-namdo saw temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius for 5 straight days, the worst of the heat is now spreading toward Western Korea. And Seoul could reach 37 degrees Celsius today, marking one of the hottest days of the year so far. And most regions will stay sunny. However, late this afternoon into the evening, passing showers are expected over southern Gangwon-do and northern Chungcheong-do with 5 to 10 millimeters expected. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 37 degrees. Gwangju, Daegu will be at 39 degrees Celsius. The scorching heat will continue through much of this week in the west with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. So please avoid outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day. And remember the 3 essentials: water, shade, and rest.
Now that's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
Across borders, surging forward without limits, Korea. Korean culture has moved beyond a passing trend, becoming a force that colors the world. And perhaps its origins trace much further back into our own history. The true roots where this vast chronicle began, where the essence of K-power and the spirit of our people are recorded. In the 17 seconds you casually pass by, thousands of years are breathing within. The moment your gaze lingers and your curiosity is stirred, the radiant faces of our history begin to awaken. The real stories of these artifacts, stories we never knew. It begins here, now.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Monday, August 3rd here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Ki-hoon.
It's great to be here.
Great to have you. Also, Fabulous with us.
Starting the week with energy.
Great.
Let's go with it.
Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's the start of a brand new work week, and what better way to kick things off than by talking about something that never goes out of style. From designer handbags and watches to shoes and jewelry, luxury items have long been a symbol of status, taste, and sometimes even investment. So today we're talking all things luxury goods, why we want them, what makes them so appealing, and whether they're really worth the price tag. So let's start out with our own relationship with luxury goods and find out just how much of a luxury lover everyone actually is. So Q, starting with you, do you personally like luxury goods? Have you ever bought one?
Honestly, who doesn't like luxury goods?
It's true.
I mean, once you actually own one and feel the high quality of it and the timeless style, you start to realize it's actually worth paying that large amount of money. But unfortunately, I haven't bought too many luxury goods on my own because of obviously the high price.
Right.
But I once bought these back in the day, really popular luxury brand pair of jeans.
Oh.
And I wore it for many, many years until to the point where it actually wore out and I had to throw it away. So for me, when I have luxury goods, I would actually not leave it at home. Many people kind of just leave it at home, cherish it, protect it, and only wear it on special occasions. But with me, I would just wear it every day until it wears out because it's so pricey. I want to make the most of it and make it worthwhile. So I have a different mindset towards luxury brands. But maybe that's why I don't own many, because if I did, they would all have disappeared. But I know luxury brands are very, 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 there's a reason why so many people like luxury brands, because of the quality as well.
Right.
I mean, you can't go wrong with quality. Yeah.
I think there are people, I know what you mean, because there are people who don't wear, for example, the designer bags outside when it's raining, for example.
Exactly.
But if I had one, I would wear it all the time.
Really? Okay, that's
just
good,
to say, you to make the most of it, I guess. What about you, Fabio?
Same. I'm also not too protective about materialistic things, so I would also use the products themselves. I myself, my academic background has always been related with design principles, and so I always appreciate the creative force behind it. So I love the designers, I love the high fashion houses and the work that they do. However, is it a good investment for myself? Not really economically, so I don't really buy that much. But I do own a few products, and I always try to get, to get them to good use, I guess.
I think the best thing is to appreciate the artistry behind it as well. So this suggests that appeal isn't just the logo, it's the design and craftsmanship behind the product. And I'm sure that for many, it's not just about how many luxury items you own, but about owning a few that you genuinely value. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. Luxury goods continue to grow in popularity among young people in Korea despite their hefty price tags. For many, luxury items are more than just fashion. They can be a symbol of social status and even a form of investment. But as luxury goods become increasingly popular, a new trend is emerging: dupes or affordable alternatives that offer a similar look without the luxury price tag. So today on News Generation, we take a closer look at the luxury brand hierarchy among Korea's younger generation, why more young consumers are turning to dupes, and how we can make smarter, more balanced choices when it comes to luxury consumption. Just as we saw in the video, luxury goods have become much more than just expensive fashion items. They've become a way for young consumers to express their taste, status, and even their financial savvy. But it seems even luxury brands have a hierarchy, so which luxury brands rank at the top here in Korea?
There was actually a social media meme that went viral that actually showed the rankings of these luxury brands. So let's take a look at the screen of how they actually ranked. Now, topping the list by a wide margin mention is Hermes. Now, of course, its products are still handcrafted by skilled artisans and only make a limited number of products, making them some of the most expensive and exclusive items on the market. Now, this was followed by Chanel and Louis Vuitton. In Korea, the three brands, those top three brands, are commonly grouped together under the nickname Erusha. Which combines the first syllables of the Korean names, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, and Chanel. And many Koreans think they are the top three brands in the luxury scene, but I personally think it's mainly for the many women lines and products more than the men's line. Now, the ranking also featured Dior, Fendi, and Bottega Veneta, followed by Gucci, Celine, and Valentino. Now, these are all luxury labels whose handbags, not just handbags, but like any of their products would easily cost several thousands of dollars each.
Right, so that is quite a pricey price. And it's interesting how much a brand's name and reputation can influence how people perceive a product. And despite those eye-watering prices, luxury goods are clearly finding a strong customer base among young Koreans. So how popular then are these luxury goods among Korea's younger generations these days?
So back in 2023, a survey was conducted by Lotte members, which is a big data company under South Korea's conglomerate Lotte Group. Now, it showed that Gen Zs accounted for 17% of South Korea's luxury consumers, while millennials made up 39%. And together, the two groups represented nearly 56% of all luxury buyers. Now, it is clear that younger Koreans have a strong appetite for luxury goods. And there are actually two main reasons behind this trend. One is emotional satisfaction and investment value. Many young consumers are willing to pay, highly exclusive items because owning something that is really rare gives them that strong sense of satisfaction, and to, of course, show it to other people as well. Now, at the same time, luxury goods can retain their value over time and may later be resold for a large sum of amount. So in fact, one survey found that 19% of young luxury item owners had experienced reselling their purchases, which again is another huge market here in Korea, the resale market.
Right. I think that figure is in a way surprising, not surprising, considering if you go to department stores here in Korea, it's actually queue to get into one of those, just to get into one of those luxury stores, which I think is quite nice.
Haven't lined up in one of those queues, but I can kind of understand why people would line up for hours just to, look around, not even to purchase one, but to actually just, look around.
Just to see, right?
Just to see.
So for these younger consumers, luxury purchases can be about more than just simply owning something expensive. There's also the idea that a well-chosen piece can deliver value now and potentially also later on. That means the way young consumers think about luxury is also quite different from simply buying something because it has a famous logo. So then what are young consumers really looking for when they're buying these luxury items, Fabian?
Right, so I don't think we have enough time to delve into how these luxury brands are actually designed sometimes to help people place themselves inside a specific social sphere. So outside of that, one of the things that really caught my attention is the term sustainability. So a lot of people are investing in these brands because of their sustainability focused mindset. So for example, I come from Spain and I have a lot of friends there and across other European countries. And one pattern that I have been able to identify is that a lot of people are very environmentally conscious. And so when it comes especially to major industries like the fashion industry, this becomes a very important thing to think about. So it's not only about reducing environmental impact, but when you invest into luxury items, you're already thinking about using that product or that item for a very long time. So it's a good investment. In fact, for example, when I buy fast fashion, I feel that I'm lucky enough if I'm able to use an item for, let's say, 2 years, because most of the time you just have to constantly buy. And it really brings you into that overconsumption void that is not very good.
And it's a good excuse for yourself too. You're like, I didn't spend that much on this. I can get another one.
Exactly. Well, when you buy luxury items, most of the time you expect to use them for a few years and maybe even pass it down to your children. For example, I have inherited a lot of luxury products from my parents. And if it's, for example, clothes, even though they're 30 or 40 years old, they're usually in very pristine conditions. So luxury brands today have become much more aware of this, and they're trying to bring that sustainability into their creative process and production process too, because of how environmental environmentally conscious these new customers are becoming. And even though sustainability has become to some extent a marketing strategy, I think it really reflects a genuine shift, and every shift is good. So we're seeing changes in both the production aspect, but also consumers' behavior.
So it looks like there's a multitude of reasons why people are, especially young consumers, are turning to luxury items. So to learn more about why they are drawn to these luxury goods and what their buying habits tell us about the changing meaning of luxury, we're going to talk with a marketing professor. And that conversation is coming up right after a break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined now by Dr. Jared Watson, Assistant Professor of Marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. So hello, Professor. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Professor, so how popular are luxury goods among young consumers around the world these days, and what makes them so appealing?
Yeah, they continue to climb year after year. So, looking at the under 40 crowd, you're now upwards of 50% of the market for luxury goods. Every year it grows another 2 to 4%. And we see a lot of utility for the entire commerce space because of this.
Professor, what makes today's young luxury consumers different from older generations?
Oh, sure. So when we think about sort of the history of luxury brands in the older generations, a lot of that was about conformity. So you'd have the classic Coach bag or Louis Vuitton bag with the iconic prints. And so everyone needed to have that same product. And what we see with the younger generation is they want to acknowledge the heritage of those brands, but they also want the novelty of having smaller capsule pieces that other people don't have access to. And so while, luxury is known for this like signal value of letting other people know you have this, as well as having these quality products, that younger generation, they really care a little bit more about the novelty factor, the individuality that can come from a specific piece.
It's so interesting how individuality, but also limiting access so you create that type of exclusivity has always been important to the consumption of luxury products. But how are luxury brands adapting to changing trends? And for example, what does the rise of dupes really say about the future of luxury?
Yeah. So I think, there's a couple big things that are happening in the space. So with this kind of changing trend and the rise of social media more broadly, what we're seeing are a lot more collaborations and capsule collections where brands are partnering with influencers, creators, other boutique designers to offer smaller limited inventories. And this just drives the crowds wild. So, you were talking about these lines that go on forever. It's for this. At the same time, this has also birthed the entire industry of dupes for those people who care less about quality and more about the signal value. So they want people to think that they're in. They want people to think like, hey, I have that limited piece. And it's really about the social value that they're getting from others. And so it's creating kind of an interesting sort of K-shaped change in consumers. You have those who are like really focused on the quality. They're looking at the heritage. They're looking at sort of the chain of custody of the products. And then you have the others who are like, hey, I'm going to acquire as many as quickly as I can to show people on social media and cycle on to the next product.
And it's so interesting. There's apparently something for each type of consumer these days. So yeah, this is a very interesting trend. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights with us today, Professor.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See y'all.
So we just heard from a marketing professor about how popular luxury goods are among younger consumers, what makes them so appealing, and what sets today's young luxury shoppers apart, and how brands are responding to changing trends and the rise of dupes. But luxury brands aren't just facing changing consumer tastes, they're also facing pressure to rethink how they produce and also sell their products. So how could new regulations change the way luxury brands sell or make their products.
Well, you see, lately in Europe, luxury brands have been restricted and facing a lot of different policies when it comes to their scarcity strategy. We have talked about exclusivity here, and some brands have traditionally maintained that exclusivity by destroying their products or even burning unsold inventory instead of selling it at discounted prices, because by doing so, they are reducing that luxury factor. And to be honest, that goes against the whole sustainability concept that we have been talking about when it comes to consumption. And because of this, the European Union introduced new regulations in 2024, like, for example, the ban on destruction or landfill disposal of unsold clothing, unsold accessories, and even footwear. So these rules will soon apply to large companies, and as we might know, many of these luxury brands actually belong to or are affiliated with large corporations. So these strategies might have to change in the future. Could this mean that we might be able to buy Chanel for outlet prices? Well, we'll have to see. But many agree on quite the opposite. Many of these luxury brands might end up just creating less product, and by doing so, their product and their items will become much more expensive and exclusive. So it's really a question of how these luxury brands are going to be able to manage and navigate that exclusivity. And this isn't a dilemma unique to fashion, for example. If we think about fine dining, I have a lot of friends who work in fine dining, and you would be amazed by the quantities of food that are being thrown out every day just to get the best out of every product. So we're seeing this type of regulations, and hopefully they become even more serious across the industry, because they might make the whole system a little bit more environmentally conscious.
It's so interesting how much people are willing to pay for the quality.
Completely. So quality is important, but when we only focus on those signals, social signals, as we have heard in the interview, then we might be entering a bigger social dilemma, a bigger social conversation.
I see that happening. So it is interesting that efforts to maintain exclusivity could actually have the opposite effect if brands can no longer simply destroy unsold products. And while luxury brands may be rethinking how they handle these unsold goods, younger consumers are already rethinking whether they need the real thing at all in the first place. So then why are more younger consumers choosing these dupes over luxury goods? I mean, our professor kind of touched on this.
So, I mean, just echoing what Fabio said, some brands maintain their exclusivity and high-end brand image by limiting the inventory, hence the high cost and of course the demand because of limited supply. Now, so that's why these prices of luxury brands have increased year on year, showing the demand is always on the constant rise. So more millennials and Gen Z consumers are actually turning to affordable dupes, like we talked about, that offer a similar look at a fraction of the price. So one recent trend in South Korea is a so-called jelly Birkin. It closely resembles the iconic Hermes Birkin bag, but instead of leather, it is made from PVC and costs just around 30,000 won, or roughly $20.
Wow.
Now, very low for a Birkin.
And it has also been nicknamed the fake Birkin or the Firkin. Now, a similar product has gained popularity in the States, the Workin bag. The name combines Walmart and Birkin, as the bag was sold by the retail giant. Now, apart from the missing Hermes logo, its design closely resembled the original Birkin, and the affordable lookalike reportedly sold out immediately soon after its release.
Wow, and some of these dupes are becoming surprisingly convincing and also surprisingly popular, but this always confuses me too. There is an important distinction between an affordable alternative and a legal counterfeit. So, Fabio, can you tell us what's the difference between those two?
Well, the main difference is the trademarks. So, for example, counterfeits are illegal because they copy a brand's logo and then they also infringe other trademarks. But dupes, for example, they simply imitate the design or take key special factors from that design and then do so and create a similar product without really violating the trademark law. So this is actually extremely common across fast fashion brands. And we have seen this cycle over and over again, where you see a design on a runway and then suddenly you have a similar product at Zara, but for obviously a very low price. And you have Chanel tweed jackets or Prada inspired shoes many of these items are just becoming spread all over these fast fashion stores, and they just evoke a similar aesthetic without trying to become the product itself. And this is where I really draw this distinction between luxury brands and fast fashion, because luxury fashion houses focus on creative force and inspiration and artistic pride and that social sphere that they really try to appeal to, while fast fashion houses just focus on imitation and accessibility.
I see. So luxury brands may continue to symbolize prestige, but younger consumers are asking new questions about value, sustainability, and authenticity. So whether it's a designer piece or a clever alternative, the choices we make reflect more than just our taste. They also reflect our values, and that could be the new definition of luxury for the next generation. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Ki-hoon.
It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you, and also Fabio.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, thank you for watching. And whether you're carrying a Birkin or working, remember, while all bags come with a price, what you truly value is what's priceless. We are
News Generation.
오늘은 대한민국 임시정부를 이끌었던 김구 선생님의 백범일지를 살펴볼 거예요. 그분이 평생을 바쳐 지키려 했던
한없이 가지고 싶은 것은 높은 문화의 힘입니다. 문화의 힘은 우리 자신을 행복하게 하고 나아가서 남에게 행복을 주기 때문입니다. 나는 우리나라가 세계에서 가장 아름다운 나라가 되기를 원합니다.